Morning Glory host Matty Johns, all thanks to El Jannah, where charcoal chicken just tastes better, and this show just gets better when this man comes on a Tuesday and a Thursday. The great Matthew Johns, good afternoon.
You really are a sweet talker, Sugar.
Thank you.
Fletch, how you going? Just have a look at this. Race 9, number 9, Menangle.
Yep. Yeah.
$1.75 on $2.80 on the tote at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be favourite. They're shorties.
What are you really gambling with?
Yeah.
Matty, put him in a multi. Put him in a multi together.
Yeah, good call.
Now, do you know what's an unusual sort of duo that I've noticed? Raygun's been knocking around Richard Branson. Have you seen that?
Really?
He has taken a liking to it, a bit of a shining.
Wow.
They're eating together on the Virgin tour, on the Virgin cruise. Yeah, so he has stood up for her. And I think well done, Sir Richard.
Well done to you, Sir Richard. And the fact that she's knocking around with billionaires, some would suggest that her plan has been vindicated to get out there and knocking them with gold medal. I just make myself a worldwide personality, and she's done it.
You think that was part of the plan, just to get out there and go?
I've got a funny Richard Branson story for you. Now, do you remember, like Richard Branson, when the Super League war happened, he watched rugby league, and he heard that Rupert Murdoch had bought the English rugby league. Of course, he turned it into the Super League. It just happened naturally over there. Well, he bought the London Broncos. He said, "I'm in." He loved it. He'd go to the games. Tony Ray was the coach at the time. Anyway, he had a nightclub right down in Kensington, right? And he said to all the London Broncos boys, "Look, anytime you want to come to the nightclub, I'm going to leave all your names on the door." Well, you imagine some of the scallywags that were there, all young Aussies, like Russell Bowden and Evan Cochran. And
Russell
all those
Bowden, enough said.
Oh, mate, and apparently they were in there, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whenever they weren't played, they're just there the whole time. But in this nightclub, it had like flamingos walking around in the nightclub. Anyway.
What? Legit? Like real flamingos?
Legit, yeah. Pink flamingos walking around. And all the boys are sitting there looking at these flamingos, and Evan Cochran goes, "Mate, how much would you give me if I Ronnie Gibbs one?" So he come charging across the dance floor and just did the Ronnie Gibbs flamingo and got barred for life.
How did the flamingo? Because I'd bet the flamingos.
Flamingo's okay.
You couldn't cannonball them because they haven't got their spindly legs downstairs.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he did. He did the dive of the legs.
Yeah, you can't hip drop.
That's what he did. And I said, "You're joking." I said, "Mate, honestly." And he said, "No, it was fine." He said, "Just folded like a deck of cards and got up and kept going."
That reminds me of a trip we went to Cancun, and the great Luke Ricketson and I were in this nightclub, and this bloke was coming around with a monkey, and you'd pay the monkey to, you take photos with it and stuff. Anyway, the monkey has reacted to Rico. So it was on a leash. And the monkey was sitting on Rico's shoulder. And it was just sort of playing, but all of a sudden it just latched onto his bugle. And Rico's freaked out, grabbed him. And he swung this monkey because he freaked out.
Bad monkey.
The monkey flew across this nightclub. It was sweet. Landed on a lounge and took off. But nightclubs and animals.
That's true.
Nightclubs and waterhouses. Unbelievable. Robbie loved that one. He's a fun-loving guy.
Oh, he is. Yeah. He's a big listener too.
Salt the earth.
Now, Matthew, you're up and about. What have you done today?
Oh, mate, the stuff on Fox, Jesus, disappointing. It's not going to play this week. Because, Fletch, there's been this natural suspicion going around all the time, but false positives are nothing new. In fact, our man, Joshy Reynolds, he told us the story of a false positive.
Yep.
I remember when this was out in the media that Josh Reynolds has been caught on a roadside drug test as a positive to cocaine. And everyone's like, "Oh, dear." And he said he was copping a really hard time. And anyway, when they went and got the, I think it wasn't, there was inconclusive when they did the other second test. But when they sent it away and it come back, it was a false positive.
Right. Well, this is what's happened with the news. Are you across the Michael Chammas article this afternoon?
No.
So what had happened was the police, the arresting officer, not arresting, the officers that did the first test, got a call while they're talking to Josh Addo-Carr and said there was a home invasion. we've got to go. Josh, you've got to go. Get in your car and drive off. They have the other. They still have his sample that can be sent away.
Yeah, but they haven't done the second test.
One. Correct.
So it's null and void, isn't it?
But what if the first test comes back positive?
But then the whole idea of the process is to have the second one. So for me, on the balance of that, but it appears that
null and void.
6 to go set restart.
Okay. Right.
Well, the thing about it is too, boys. Back in the day when you did the drug tests with ASADA that would come over for performance-enhancing drugs, mate, the process that you actually go through as far as giving samples and everything is quite long and laborious. Like, getting, tickets and is this one okay and put this here and everything like that. So if they weren't able to do that and they had to rush off, then it's done.
Yeah. No, I know. It's a bit confusing.
No, but Brian,
I know what you're saying.
Process, if you don't complete the process,
null and void. See you later.
It has to be null and void.
Yeah.
On the information that we've heard.
So, and I've been told it's not official, but he's done a second drug test for the club. My understanding was he said to the Bulldogs, "Well, right, I'll test me," and that came back negative.
So, Matty, what I said to Brian earlier was, if he's truly innocent, well, then he'd be disappointed he can't get the second one to prove his innocence, right? But if he's truly guilty, you've been kissed on the tush by a rainbow, haven't you? It's one of the two.
And like standing himself down this week, and I understand it because everyone handles stress completely different. And he could, he might just say, mate, I'm not in the right frame of mind to do this. I don't want the circus all around me and the team going into the game. I'm not sure, but it is a shame.
Yeah, well, let's move on to Friday night's game and the Prince of Penrith.
Back.
Nathan Cleary is back. Is that enough, Matthew? I know you've been very bullish on Penrith anyway this year. Can you see the Chooks upsetting them?
Fletch, not if they continue to play the same way. I've said often that they ad nauseum, they are 1 from 25 against the Storm and the Penrith. Any side that, we'll put it this way, at the moment they can't beat the benchmark sides. Right? The benchmark sides that really get into that physical, aggressive, arm wrestle and everything they do, that the Roosters can't handle it. So in my mind, if the Roosters are going to beat them, they got to fight fire with fire. I think for the Roosters, they've got to give up trying to set up for these big flowery set sequences that they try to do and then resetting. Mate, they've got to play fast and they've got to drill holes in the middle of the Penrith side. If there's one vulnerability I see around Penrith, it is they look like the petrol tank is, it's how they've played in the last 4 weeks. Either they've been just treading water and waiting for the finals to come in, or the petrol tank is getting pretty low. And so, if you can drill through the middle and you can make those middle forwards who basically drive the team, if you can make them do plenty of tackles in that first half and start to make them miss through the middle, then you give yourself a chance. I would, although he won't start with Manu, I would move Manu into 6 into the middle of the field at some point of the game. When the game starts to loosen up, and just let Tedesco and Manu, just one after the other, just go at the big Penrith forwards through the middle. The temptation will be for Trent Robinson to design sets around getting to Nathan. I think that's a mistake. Oftentimes in a game when you say, right, we're just going to target this guy, what can eventually happen is you find yourself tying yourself in knots. The Melbourne Storm said that in 2018 when Cooper Cronk basically couldn't tackle. They went away from all of their strengths. All they were doing was playing Cronk ball, trying to find Cooper, and they could never get to him. In hindsight, they've admitted that was a mistake. And I think the same thing with the Roosters. If you do all the things right, if you get forward, if you complete high, if you play the ball quickly, you will find Nathan at some point or another. You don't need to go searching for him all the time.
You know what? All things being even, right? So Penrith still have the number one defence in the comp. And part of my role, Matty, every Monday I've got to dedicate most of the day going through every single game, all the tapes, etc. Now, you look at Penrith and you go, okay, the last 4 weeks, they've been a bit sloppy, 14 tries, unlike Penrith. But I went through those 14 tries the last month. And you go through those 14 tries, there's actually only 4 of those 14 that are actually true defensive errors. So you've got ones where loose ball, Khan Pereira runs 90. Yep. You've got Tyrone Munro. There's been fluky kicks where they've knocked the ball back, bounced away. There's been Tyrone Munro plucking a 90-minute intercept. There's been 10 of those 14 tries have been loosey-goosey fluky. They just might be... The loser of this game, by the way, it's a death sentence because not only do you probably have to play Melbourne in Melbourne, you've then got to come and play the other team.
We've got to play Sharks, don't you?
No, the loser of this will eventually have to go and play Melbourne in Melbourne and then come back to probably play the other team in the grand final. But this Penrith team, the more I think about it, Matty, fully fit, they might just be Frank Worrells.
Look, they are still my competition favourites, probably on level pegging with the Melbourne Storm, right? But I'll say this, Joel. I absolutely understand what you're saying about loose balls and Campereira picks it up and run. But those loose balls on the ground and those past decisions that were poor, oftentimes that's fatigue as well. Fatigue sort of... It manifests itself in a lot of different ways, and a lot of it can be carelessness with the football. And what's been interesting watching Penrith in the back half of this season is watching them really struggle to get their true attack game on. It's like they stay in the grind for a long time and they just can't quite get their attack going. I don't know whether that is a technique problem or something about the sequence they're putting together, or it is fatigue. Yeah,
it probably is too. Like they've been up for not just the 3 premierships, the fourth year as well. But Brian, just imagine this, right? So maybe their heartbeat the whole time throughout this has been James Fisher-Harris. You know, what he did for New Zealand, 30 blot versus Australia. Can you just imagine when the finals are here and he's just holding court? It's a bit of a last dance feel about it.
Matty, were you there? Were you in the conversation we had Mitch Kenny? We were upstairs, so we were off air, and I was just having a yarn to Mitch about the Roosters game. And he said, we're a little bit different to the Roosters. If we get a 2-point lead, we just sort of forget about attack and we focus on kicking long and getting in with the defence. He said, whereas Roosters go, and he made a good point. He says, if we're scored 30, the Roosters might want to score 32. That's the difference in the mentality. It was just interesting listening to Mitch Kenny talk about if we get to a lead, we sort of forget about attack.
Fletch, and I think that's caught up with them a little bit.
Yeah.
Fletch, I think that's one of the things like that. That makes perfect sense because watching their football, the inside balls, the inside balls, the kicking, and you're going, righto, okay, they're doing a job on them. When are they going to break out? When are they going to break out? Come on, when are they going to break out? And in the last month, they've really struggled to break out, to really get their attack going off that. They start great, they arm wrestle great, all those things are great, but their inability to break out and really get their attack on has given lesser teams an opportunity to pip them at the post, like we saw with the Raiders when the Raiders got them.
Anyway, time will tell. I think I'm very bullish on the Chooks. Anyway,
are you Fletch?
Yep. Yeah. I'm bullish on them.
The winner of that game is massively in the box seat, like hugely in the box seat. Yeah. It's a saloon passage all the way through to the grand final. Hey, Matty, what about this call around the refs? And it's a tricky... They're going to have this big sort of go through all the analysis and what went right, what didn't through 2024. But this obstruction stuff, this field goal sort of set-up blockers, it's a big month coming up for the NRL, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, Joel. Honestly, the referees, I do feel like there's been some howlers. I do feel for the referees. I think to myself, there are so many rules coming in all the time and changes of interpretation. When they're under fatigue in a game at vital times and under a bit of stress and pressure, geez, it must be hard. It must be so hard for them. But yeah. It is. For Jesus, it's going to be, the things should like the block system and, like you said, mate, the interference, like on the weekend, the one with Trey Fuller, like that. Geez, mate, we lucked in there, Newcastle. I thought that was such a tough call.
Well, it's just a try, isn't it?
Well, Wayne was saying, and Wayne made a good point. He said, well, if that's the rule we're going to go in, no one will score tries. Yeah. He said, we'll be having games where it's going to be no tries because. That was anyway.
Mate, did you see? Actually, they played some of the some of Wayne on the his press conference last night on 360, and the way he spoke was very unlike Wayne. He went. They were asking him about that, and he said, "Oh, well, Trey Fuller went through and the try. It's been a try for 100 years, but we've got this thing called the bunker."
He's been a bit sarcastic.
Yeah, have a look, mate.
He's laughing.
Go back and have a look at 360 from last night. We've got this thing called the bunker. Thought it was very unlike Wayne.
Just thinking about Wayne's career, right? So he's and you're talking about Rookie of the Year, Fletch, and Max Plath, and what a young player he is. But he would have coached Johnny Plath.
Correct.
How many coaches would have done that?
I reckon there's a chance he'll coach a grandson or someone. I reckon.
What a pest he was, Johnny Plath.
Oh,
mate.
His young bloke doesn't seem like that, though.
Yeah.
His young bloke seems quite level-headed.
He's a good, and I reckon there's a little bit of shit in him. I reckon, Fletch.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon. Hope so.
There's a little bit of shit in everyone, isn't there?
Yeah, a little bit. Some of us hide it a little bit more. What about one of the big stories going into next year is going to be Kristian Wolff. There's only been one coach who has ever succeeded Wayne who's taken the side onto bigger and better things, and that was Tim Sheens. Tim Sheens takes over the Raiders in 1988. Granted, he had who come in? He had Ricky Stewart come to the side, Laurie Daly come to the side, Lazo, Bradley, Clyde. Once in a generation, players came in, which helped him. But that is the only time someone has succeeded Wayne and actually improved the team. Everybody else has gone completely off a cliff.
But that was Wayne's. So 87 was his first co-coach, was it?
It was co-coach with Donnie Ferner.
Okay,
but he's got to be Wayne, one of the great share traders. So he knows a roster. He knows when to buy or sell. He has to, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think he works it out by their character. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like you can see blokes who, and as we know, the blokes that struggle sometimes off the field.
Well, that's what Paul Bunn said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he say? What did Bunn man say?
Well, they're all character. Like they're guys who just. But Wayne's the best fixer-upper.
Yes,
isn't he?
Yeah. Well, Bunny goes and meets the parents. That's what he does as well. He'll go and meet the parents.
Yeah.
If it's a very solid household, parents are nice. Parents actually parent the kid. Don't let them do what they want. They'll sign him, but if it's
so
can
I interrupt you there? How did Cooper sign then for Melbourne?
Yeah, I refused to meet with him. Now I'll tell you why.
Don't tell me they use Joey.
I've got I've got some serious dirt on Bunny over the years. So yeah.
Oh, you're sweet. Hey, Matty, I'll tell you a story really quickly before you go on that same thing, right? Ryan Hoffman had won a SG ball comp with Western Suburbs, and he was coming through the Western Suburbs ranks, came through all that. And he was destined to play first grade at West Tigers. And Jay Hoffman, his dad, who played at Canberra, he turns up to training, and I won't name names, but he's looking around at training, and in his eyes, he thought, at the time, he goes, this is a bloody zoo.
Yeah.
He said, my son will not play here. Found his contacts, which probably Craig through Melbourne, his contact. And
they would have played together.
And him turning up to a training session at Leichhardt Oval to watch the West Tigers, he said, nah, we're out of here. Goes to the Melbourne Storm, rest is history.
Yeah, rest is history.
Yeah,
Matthew, but just before you go, that powder that you put underneath your orchestras, the spicy one, game changer.
Did I tell you about
Game changer. You told me about it. I love it.
It's honestly, it's like an Eskimo just blowing cold wind on your
calves.
calves.
Oh, it's awesome.
Shout
out to you, Richo, as well.
Speaking about charcoal, we've got to go.
Under the pits.
Morning Glory host Matty Johns. Thanks to Eljana.